has to be considered true. But there's no science in any of it. He talked about the ridge that was discovered in the mountains of Ararat, where he thinks the ark is buried beneath it. Why doesn't somebody just go there and dig it up and show it to us? Have you ever noticed what I'm going to call the rotten luck syndrome for these people who man all the expedition to go to Mount Ararat and look at the wood that they find there and the ark that they claim that they have seen there, and they take pictures of it? And on the way down, the guy carrying the camera falls off a cliff or something and kills himself. Or the expedition is raided by bandits and they steal all of their supplies, and woe and behold, when they get back to civilization, they don't have the pictures. It's always something like that happening. That seemed rather unkind of God to do that, because if He'd let them get back with the pictures, maybe prove to us that something like that is there, then maybe there wouldn't be people like me standing before you tonight denying that it's there. But he suggested that the ark is in this ridge somewhere in the mountains of Ararat. But then he said that he has seen samples of wood from the ark. And I assume that he's talking about the samples that guys like Joseph Navarre claim that he has brought back from Mount Ararat. So where is this ark? Is it on Mount Ararat? Or is it in that other place buried under that ridge that he talked about? Noah built the boat in 100 years, he told us. Well, how did he arrive at that? He's just pulling a figure out of thin air. Where's the science involved in this? And didn't I tell you something? Didn't I tell you that he would not be able to deal with the 300-foot barrier to building wooden ships? If you think that he dealt with it, then you must be able to see something that I can't see. Because he said the people were just smarter back then than we are now. And so they could do great things that we can't do today. Where is his evidence of that? Where is his proof of that? It's entirely speculation. And I'm going to read his proposition to you again. This is what he agreed to affirm. The Genesis story of the worldwide flood is scientifically accurate in all of its details. And what did he do? He stood before you and admitted that he couldn't prove it scientifically. I want you to check the tapes, because unless my ears played tricks on me, that's exactly what he said in his second speech. That he cannot prove scientifically that it happened. Well, that if he can't prove that it happened scientifically, then why in the world did he agree to affirm this proposition? He talked about the 6-to-1 ratio. Bible inerrantists like to talk about the 6-to-1 ratio of the ark. But what they do not tell you, my friends, is something that you need to know. By the time the Genesis story was written, shipbuilding had developed to the extent that people understood that that 6-to-1 ratio was ideal for the dimensions of a ship. He would have you believe that Moses wrote the book of Genesis. There isn't a reputable scholar in the world who will say that Moses wrote that book. It was written hundreds of years after the time that you believe that it was written. Stop living in fantasy land, my friends. Go to your public libraries and request the books in which you can do research to find out some of these things for yourself. He said that the ark could have withstood 100-foot waves. Now, how does he know that? Because the Bible tells us nothing at all about the internal structure that went into the ark. It tells us nothing about the keel, the spine of the ship, how big it was. It tells us nothing about the keelson beam that goes above the keel of a wooden ship to reinforce the hull framing. It tells us nothing about the dimensions of the hull frame. It tells us nothing about the support beams in the bow and how big that they were. So how does he know that that thing that he is showing to you, if it were at sea, in full dimensions, could withstand a 100-foot wave? I can't prove that it did happen, he said. So we're just going to have to trust the Bible. If I stood before you as an Islamic mullah and I said to you relative to something in the Koran, now I can't prove to you that this happened this way. I can't prove it's scientific. We're just going to have to go with the Koran. How many of you would say amen to that? Or if I stood before you as a representative of the Hindu religion and I said, I can't prove to you that all of this that is written in the Vedas happened in a scientific way, or that it happened at all. So we're just going to have to go with the Vedas. How many of you would say amen to that? Let's bring it to more recent times. Let's just suppose that I'm a representative of the Mormon religion. And I say to you, I can't prove to you that this and this and this that's written in the Book of Mormon actually happened. We're just going to have to go with the Book of Mormon. People, what kind of proof is that? What kind of logic leads people to say amen to a statement like that? There is no scientific investigation at all involved in forming an opinion like that. Well, you can get variety in 20 years. Any farmer can tell you that, he said. Okay. Dr. Hovind, I want you to take a cow and begin with that. We'll let you have a bull too. And by the way, you know, I wonder what farmer going into the dairy business or the beef breeding business would buy 7 cows and 7 bulls. Why not 13 cows and 1 bull? Why not 13 sheep and 1 ram? Why take along 7 males and 7 females of the clean animals? I don't know, maybe God wanted these animals to be monogamous. But no animal breeder would be stupid enough to make that kind of investment if he wanted to begin a cattle breeding industry. But anyway, getting back to what I started to say, Dr. Hovind, I'm going to suggest that you take a cow and a bull, and in 20 years you come up with a sheep. Or you take a ewe and you take a ram, and in 20 years you come up with a cow. Those of you who are saying amen to all of these things that he's presenting to you, you need to understand exactly what he's saying. One bovine kind, or that is, it would be 14 bovine kind were taken aboard the ark. And from that we get goats, we get sheep, we get bison, we get buffalo, we get all of the bovines today. And all of that happened within 5,000 years. Someone came up to me during the break and asked me a question that relates to this, and so I'm going to introduce it here. If Noah's family were the only humans who survived the flood, then how do we explain the racial variety that exists on the earth today? Are we to believe that that happened within the space of just 5,000 years? That the black races in Africa developed The Asian races developed, the Caucasian races developed, the brown races of North and South America, that all of these developed within the space of 5,000 years. If he's not careful, he's going to talk himself out of the job, because he tours the country speaking about creation science. And I say again, there isn't an evolutionist on the face of the earth who would stand before you and say that diversity like that could happen that rapidly. Well, he wanted to know if humans today could build a pyramid. He doesn't seem to think that we could do it. Well, I have a lot more confidence in modern man than he does. Pyramids aren't being built today because we don't see any need for them. There was probably a religious purpose behind them at that time. Has anyone tried to build a pyramid? And after all, Dr. Hovind, the largest pyramids in the world were not built in Egypt. They were built in Central America. And scientists will tell you, and I know that what scientists will tell you doesn't necessarily mean anything to most of you, but scientists will tell you that most of the settlers in this country came to this country after the flood, and it would have had to have happened that way, wouldn't it, Dr. Hovind? Wouldn't it have to have happened that way? And yet they built the largest pyramids that the world has ever known. And I'm just sure that if a reputable construction company set itself to the task and actually wanted to do it, that it could build a pyramid. That in no way explains the 300-foot limit to seaworthy wooden vessels. That's a specter that's hanging over him, and it's a specter that will hang over him the rest of his career if he continues to go about preaching this stuff. And do you know how he handled it? He said exactly what I expected that he would say. Well, God could enable this to be done. And I see or heard a few amens then, but I must tell you again, that is not scientific. You accuse me of making assumptions, but I just wrote down a list of assumptions that he's given to us during his speeches. There was an assumption that a canopy of water was above the earth. There's no scientific proof at all for that. There is an assumption on his part that the earth was level and the mountains rose after the flood. Where is his evidence? Where is his proof for that? He has said that people were smarter back then than they are today. Looked like we would find some archaeological evidence for that. Noah lived 350 years after the flood, and creationists like to refer to this as reasons why civilization was able to develop so rapidly after the flood. And yet the primary contribution that Noah made to the world, building the most amazing boat that was ever built, vanished completely. And according to archaeological studies, civilizations after the flood sailed in dinghies compared to what the ark was. And I see that my time is up, and I want to thank you for the attention that you've given me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Till. I've had a difficult job up here. I don't know how much of the last second round I have heard, but I have been sorting through these questions, and I want to say tonight I have done my best to be as objective and fair as I can here. They are good questions. I wish we had time to get to each